this video, you're going to learn how to create a front bodice sloper by placing your measurements taken onto pattern paper to create a basic bodice. Now that sounds redundant, but it's really important to remember that this is just a starting point for creating a sloper. The first measurement you'll need is across chest. The second measurement will be the front bust. You'll have to assume from your side seam to your side seam, which is about the center point below your armpit. You can always place tape on a t-shirt or something that you're wearing if that helps you with when you take your measurements. Just be sure that whatever you're wearing is tight against your body. Next, you'll need the front waist measurement. You'll take that from side seam to side seam on your waist. The next measurement you'll need is from high point shoulder to your waist. This measurement typically falls over your bust a little bit, so let the measuring tape fall as naturally as possible. The next measurement you'll need is center front length, which is about the center of your clavicle bone down to your waist. You'll need your shoulder length, which is from your high point shoulder to the ridge of your shoulder. Be sure you start at 0 on your measuring tape. And then you'll also need your side seam, which is from under your armpit to your natural waist. With those 7 measurements, you can create your front bodice sloper. Okay, we're gonna do our front bodice sloper. You're gonna need a hip curve or a French curve, a see-through ruler, and you should use a pencil in case you make mistakes, but I'm gonna use a marker so you guys can see the lines a little bit better. So I have all my measurements here that we took earlier in the video. My across chest, my front bust, front waist, high point shoulder to waist. This one we don't need. Center front length, shoulder length, and side length. So ignore my notes. All right, so we're gonna start off with step 1, which is creating line AB. Line AB is gonna be your high point shoulder to your waist. So that will become line AB. Step 2 is line AC, which is going to be 1/2 of your across chest measurement plus 3/8 of an inch. For step 3, we're going to create line CD, where we're going to drop from point C down 1.5 inches. Make sure all your lines are squared up really nice. And that becomes line CD. For step 4, we're going to create line DE using your shoulder measurement. Point E is going to fall on line AC. For step 5, on line AB, we're going to mark your center front length, which you took from your clavicle down to your waist. And that is going to become line FB. So from my waist, I'm going to come up my center front length measurement to create point F. Step 6, from point A, I'm going to draw a 45-degree angle. That's going to be the equivalent of the length from A to E plus 3/8 of an inch. If you can't tell already, this is our shoulder, and this will become our neck. For step 7, I'm going to square down 1/2 inch from point E, and I'm going to square across 1/2 inch from point F. For step 8, we're going to use the French curve to create our neckline. So we're going to connect points E, G, and F. For step 9, I'm going to create point H, which is the 1/2 point on line AB. Step 10, I'm going to create line HI, which will be 1/2 of the bust measurement plus 1/2 inch. For step 11, we're going to create point J, which is the halfway point between points F and H. For step 12, we're going to create line JK, which is going to be 1/2 of your across chest measurement. So we're going to square this line out to create line JK. And that's half of your across chest measurement. For step 13, on line HI, we're going to create line HL. So from H out, we're going to create our point L, which will be our half cross chest measurement. For step 14, we created a 1-inch extension on a 45-degree angle from point L to create point M. I'm doing a size 2 sloper for my measurements, so depending on your body type, you're just going to want to kind of eyeball that extension a little bit because this will create a nice slope for your armhole. So I would say for a size 4, I would do maybe 1 1/8 inch, size 6, 1 1/4 inch, and so on. For step 15, we're going to join points D, K, M, and I using a French curve or a hip curve. When you get to point M, you want to be sure that that line kind of flows nice into I because this will become our side seam. So we want to be sure the very end of this point is on a little bit of a straight. Step 16, we'll be doing a 2-inch drop from point H to create point N. Again, depending on your sizing, this drop will increase as the size increases. So since I'm doing a size 2, I'm doing 2 inches. For a size 4, I would do 2 inches and 1/8. Size 6, 2 inches and 1/4, and so on. For step 17, we're going to create line NO. That line is the same measurement as HI plus 3/8 of an inch. For step 18, we'll be using our side measurement. So you're going to take your side length and you're going to plot from I through O to end with P. For step 19, from point B, we're going to mark a 3-inch line. So now I have my point Q. This is going to be the first leg of our dart. An easy way to figure out where this is on your body is to measure from your center front of your waist out toward the bottom of your apex. Your apex is the farthest point of your bust from your body. For step 20, you're going to join point Q to point P. For step 21, we're going to take half of your front waist measurement plus 1/4 inch. So half of my front waist measurement plus 1/4 inch. And then we're going to subtract the measurement from B to Q. We're going to create point R with that measurement. So from point P, you're going to measure in to the center here because we're creating 2 legs of the dart now. And that will become your point R. So now we have 2 legs for our dart. Step 22, we're going to mark the center of R and Q. And that will give us the fold line for our dart. From that center point, for step 23, you'll take your ruler on a 90-degree angle, and from our center point, you will bring that up toward your vanishing point. Now we've created our center fold line. This is our vanishing point. These will be our dart legs. For step 24, from your vanishing point to point Q, you will pull 1 dart leg. From your vanishing point to point R, you will create your other dart leg. And that is your completed front bodice. Again, this will be transferred to muslin, and then you will refit it on your body and make whatever adjustments from your muslin onto this paper before the final sloper, which has all of those changes, and then it's transferred to oak tag. Then you have a sloper that you can use over and over again and not worry about it getting damaged because oak tag is a little bit harder. It's kind of like a manila envelope. Again, if you don't have oak tag, You can use a manila envelope or even like a cardboard type paper that's a little heavier weight than this. Now that you've created your front sloper, we're gonna add in our seam allowance. This will be cut on the fold of the fabric along center front so that when you open it, you have one complete front bodice sloper. The pattern making symbol to indicate cut on fold has 2 arrows and 1 line straight across. This would indicate that you will cut the fabric on straight grain, but on the folded edge. So the folded edge will be here along center front, so there will be no seam allowance down the front. Again, if you'd like to use this pattern with the seam allowance down the front, you can always add 1 inch, fold that under, and only use it when you're not cutting this center front on the fold. You're gonna add 1/2 inch seam allowance at the neckline. One inch seam allowance at the shoulder. So extend this. We're gonna do 1/2 inch seam allowance for the armhole. That's the beauty of the see-through ruler, is you can just rotate it along your seam lines to create curves and such. We're gonna add 1 inch seam allowance for the side seam, just extending on the top and the bottom. Depending on how advanced you are with pattern making, I would typically just add 1/2 inch along the bottom. But if you're beginning, I would add 1 inch. And when we get to our dart, you can add 1 inch at center, add 1 inch over here, continue those. There are a lot of different methods for adding seam allowance for the dart. Some people prefer to create a triangular shape. So now that we've added all of our seam allowances, we'll cut along our seam allowance line, transfer this to muslin, cut 1 on the fold, and then you'll have 1 complete front bodice sloper. You'll sew your darts, and then we'll do the back. You can sew them both together and try the fit sample on yourself. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's really advanced, but practice makes perfect. Just be sure that your measurements are spot on. Good luck.